What if I told you some stories you need to hear to believe?
Everywhere you went, Dan and Dave.
And that's these two athletes that are going to go to the Olympics this year, and it's going to be settled in Barcelona.
When Reebok approached Dave and I, the first thing both of us said, neither one of us are on this team yet.
The thought never, ever crossed my mind that Dan nor Dave would not make that Olympic team.
The all-new 30 for 30 podcast. Subscribe now on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts.
30 for 30 podcast is presented by Mini. We're finding the best sports stories for you right now. And to do that, we're behind the wheel of the new Mini Countryman, the biggest Mini yet.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
To find great sports stories, you have to get out into the world and follow your instincts. That's where the new Mini Countryman's all-wheel drive comes in handy. With all four, we can chase down a story in the city, the country, and most places in between. No matter what story you're chasing, the new Mini Countryman will help you find it. It's available now, and so are 30 for 30 podcasts.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. I'm going to address this once and for all because it's important. And I'm going to preface my comments by saying Connor in Long Island, I hope he's still listening. I do not want one single caller to call up here insulting Connor. Connor was not wrong. Connor had every right to feel what he feels. I'm assuming, I did not ask, but I am assuming he is a white individual. I am assuming that he is tired of these kind of subjects. I am assuming that he just wants to watch his sports. And I'm assuming that, obviously, I don't have to assume because he said so, it disgusted him that race is entered as a part of the equation. I want to repeat myself. I don't want anybody calling up to insult or denigrate Connor from Long Island in any way. Look, I am a black man. I happen to believe that for the most part, there are exceptions, white supremacy and things of that nature. No, there's no reason for that. But barring stuff like that, I don't happen to believe that white folks are wrong or racist or anything like that just because they disagree with me. Just like black folks have a right to feel the way that we feel, so do white folks, so do Latinos, so does Asian Americans and beyond. That's what makes us who we are in terms of the greatest country in the world, because we're not monolithic in our thinking and our views about everything. We're expansive. We're inclusionary. It's one of the reasons why we have a problem with some of the vibes that our president has given off since taking office, actually before taking office, because it's antithetical to everything that has made this country great as far as we're concerned. So Connor is not wrong. My issue with Connor is not that he's wrong. My issue with him is that there's a reality that you have to embrace even when it's uncomfortable. During the break, my producers and I were talking because one of my producers sided with some degree with Connor. And he needed me to explain further and elaborate more extensively on why I felt the way that I felt by bringing up an Andrew Luck comparison. It's one of my producers. His name is Jonathan Winthrop. He happens to be white. He happens to be a phenomenal producer, a great young man and a great friend. And guess what? If a black person out there wanted his job, no, damn it, you can't have it because I'm keeping him. Get over it. But understand his point. This is the reason why it's important to have diversity. Because like Connor, he didn't quite get what I was saying. Because he asked a question about Andrew Luck. Are you saying that if it were Andrew Luck as opposed to Ezekiel Elliott or somebody, it would be treated differently? I said no. The NFL would still do its job. And they do the job that they've been doing because they've got a public to answer to. The difference is the level of pressure to address the situation would be different with Andrew Luck than it would be with an Ezekiel Elliott. Or dare I say a Dak Prescott or somebody like that. Because in this society, as I have articulated on many, many occasions, in the world of corporate America, history has shown us that there is this penchant, this insatiable appetite. When it's white on white or something like that, let's exploit it. Let's make as much money as we can. Let's really ride this wave and push the pedal to the metal and go for it. But when it comes to African Americans, the issue appears to be more about control. Well, let's make sure we can trust this person. Let's make sure we can reel them in. Let's make sure that they're going to be aligned with our thinking and we can control them. Half the time, I don't like it. It's offensive to me. The other half of the time, I completely understand it. Because when your bottom line has the potential to be affected and you're making X amount of dollars, and those dollars are coming from the masses, and the masses happen to be, for the most part, on the white side of the fence, guess what? If you want mass appeal, you're going to cater to the masses and hope that others follow. It's logical. And it's been proven throughout history that that has been exercised. Baseball, a national pastime. The proliferation of the magnitude of that is the National Basketball Association and how it's become a global iconic brand. It wasn't just with Commissioner Stern taking over a league that was on tape delay and ridding itself of an unsavory element while showing Madison Avenue and beyond that we indeed have control over our brand, our product, etc. But it's also what enabled the NBA to go global. And even when it went global, in a 19-year-old limit, well, you got to be 19 years of age or at least a year removed from college. But if you're in Europe, you can come over. Well, look at the European players that come over. Do they look more like Tony Parker or do they look more like Manu Ginobili and Dirk Nowitzki? It's not an accident. Then you transition to the NFL. And what are we talking about here? $14 billion a year in revenue. Projected to be $18 billion shortly. By the year 2027, according to the NFL and Roger Goodell, it could escalate as high as $25 billion a year. You think they're going to let anybody compromise this product, this brand? And regardless of what the truth is, regardless of the fact that there may be numerous players who happen to be white that are committing domestic violence like Josh Brown, that are getting themselves in some kind of trouble. When we're talking about weed, who do we usually see? Is it not African Americans? When we've been talking about domestic violence or criminal activity, from Ray Caruth, you got him, you got Michael Vick in the dogfighting scandal, you got Greg Hardy, Ray McDonald, Ray Rice. Who are we talking about? Again, I'm not talking truth. I'm talking perception. I'm talking how things look. I'm talking about the way things appear and how it can ultimately impact your bottom line. There's no escaping this. Why do you think I'm on the air raising holy hell? It's not because black folks don't know how to act. It's because we do know how to act. And we are lawful. And we do obey the law. And we do fight incredible obstacles and leapfrog and overcome and persevere and withstand. We do it all. But a few knuckleheads act up. And all of a sudden, our entire community is affected. Why is our entire community affected? Because the actions of the few are allowed to give the impression that it defines the many. And as a result, you have dudes like Roger Goodell and others on their perches in league offices lamenting the fact that this is something they have to fend off. This is why I like Adam Silver so much. It's why no matter how many times I've been cussed out and a man has gone off on me, I absolutely love me some David Stern. Because when it was time to defend those athletes on Capitol Hill, David Stern went up there and did it. in front of congressional and Senate figures and challenged anybody to question the legitimacy, the authenticity of this brand that is the NBA and what it did to uplift itself in communities throughout this nation. But he still had to go up there on Capitol Hill and do it, didn't he? David Stern and the NBA didn't have anything to do with PED use, steroid use, that pervaded Major League Baseball. That was all on Major League Baseball and their arrogance and their refusal to address the situation for decades until Commissioner Bud Selig forced their hand and ultimately coaxed Congress to get involved. Nobody said a word. But somehow, some way, because Major League Baseball had to go to Capitol Hill, they summoned the NBA there too. Open your eyes. We all know what time it is. Times have gotten better. We've evolved and progressed as a society. But you can't sit up there and lament the behavior of a president, the actions that his behavior may provoke in terms of how it emboldens other people, wonder about the divide that exists within our country, and then I bring it up from a business perspective directly related to sports, and somehow it offends you. Connor from Long Island ain't wrong in expressing his frustration. He's absolutely right because he's probably a good dude that just wants to watch his sports. And he's not wrong for feeling that way. But he is wrong if he's acting like he has a choice. Because the world we live in won't give us one. It continuously demands that we deal with these challenges, because it continuously reminds us, no matter how far we've progressed, we have such a long way to go. It is just the reality, not just of being black in America, but of being in an America that refuses to fully address its problem with blackness.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shades.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance